Welcome to Organizing Elephants. I'm your host, Darla DeMorrow, and you're watching MLTV Mainline Network. This is this show with sanity-saving organizing wisdom from smart, busy, accomplished women. With a twist today, because this is Organizing Elephants Coronavirus Edition. So I am not only the host, I'm the guest today. And I'm really glad that you're watching. Everybody is watching everything that they can about the coronavirus and trying to understand what we are going to do and what is happening with our world. One of the things that we are seeing is so many offices, so many businesses and entrepreneurs, just really all sorts of people who never thought they might be working at home are now working from home. Since in January of this year, I released a book called The Upbeat Organized Home Office. I asked the studio if I could come in and do Organizing Elephants as a single topic show today. So we are going to be talking about home office, how to work as a remote worker, how to keep your sanity, how to set up a home office if you've never done that before. And that is really the full focus of the show. So grab your hand sanitizer, settle in for the next few minutes, and let's talk about 4 things. I'm going to focus on your physical office, paper and digital files, apps and technology. Even if you're not a techie person, you're going to want to stick around for this. And productivity, how to keep doing what you need to be doing, even though everybody's someplace else right now. My own kids are home from school. The governor, as you know, has shut the schools for a couple of weeks at least, and we are all just trying to get through as best we can. So I'm hoping that in this show today, I can give you some tips for this particular time, but also really strategies that will be longer term for you. And if you've never felt like an organized person, if you don't have a home office yet, or if you have a home office and you don't love it, then this is the show to be watching. So let's dive right in with talking about your physical office. A lot of people got the word last week. I know we found out on Thursday night the kids were home from school on Friday. We had very little time to prepare, and that may be your case too when it comes to your work. You might have gotten very little notice that you needed to stay home and work from now on. So let's talk about the office essentials. You probably have mostly everything that you need to work from home already. But I really think that working from home professionally takes more than just a Wi-Fi connection. So let's think about what you're going to need. Ideally, you're going to need a spot to work in, a desk. If you don't have a desk, you probably have a dining room table. Most dining room tables go highly underutilized throughout the year, but hey, this is a great time to turn it into a home office desk. And if you don't have that, you probably do have a kitchen table or even a kitchen island. What I would recommend is that you make that your actual space that you're going to work from, your desk. And if you don't have any of those, you know, hey, there's always online shopping. I've actually been looking online, and you can get a pretty decent, lightweight, but still durable desk for under $100. Amazon, Wayfair, Home Depot, these are all great places to go and look for desks that can be delivered to your home. Even if you're not super handy, super DIY, you can put things together pretty quickly on most of these, you know, full size but lightweight desks. And even if you have a single bedroom apartment or a small house, you can probably find a corner of a room or even at one point in my life, I even worked in my hallway, believe it or not. I had a hallway that connected to several rooms in my house. And so you can make it work. You can make a home office work wherever. You mostly have everything you need already. You're going to want to have your office supplies, like I have mine laid around me. Yeah, you probably have a computer, desktop or a laptop. You've got your phone, you know, some paper, files, Maybe no files. If you are in a job where everything's online, that's great. But oftentimes we'll even have just a pad of paper around us to take notes, because we still do use pen and paper, pencil and paper. Here's the thing about setting up a home office, though. I'm giving you permission to move furniture around. If you don't have a spot that's already designated as a home office, you might want to take your desk, if you already have one, and move it to a sunnier spot, a happier spot, a spot where it's closer to all the action, or maybe a spot that's further away from all the action. It's going to depend on your household and the kids, the people that are in your household, whether your dog wants to work with you or not. These are all things that I'm giving you permission to kind of rethink right now as you need to resettle yourself and be productive at home. The other thing that you need is time and the permission to actually organize your office. If your office right now, if you're lucky enough to have one, and it's overcome with papers, maybe you've got piles up to here, before you settle in tomorrow, take some time. It might take a half hour, it might take a whole day, it might take longer, but go through, clear your desk, make some room to work. That might mean tossing a whole bunch of things, getting a whole bunch of things in the recycle bin so that you can sit down and focus. Studies over and over again say and show us that most people can focus better when they're not in a cluttered environment. So if you feel like your office is too cluttered, start there. You're going to be much better off for the next 2 weeks. We don't know how long this is going to last, and I'm not here really to talk about that. But whether you're working at home for a few days, a few weeks, or longer, then you're going to want to have a space that you can focus in. Now, here's the thing. I don't just want you to make your space organized. I actually want you to make it comfortable and make it pretty. So I have some office accessories up here that I enjoy having in my office. This is a tickler file. This is a little timer that I use, and look how cute it is. It's blue. This, by the way, is a timer, and it's super cute. Yes, I have a timer on my phone, but sometimes it's just easier to flip the switch on this and have that looking at me so that I can get through my projects really quickly. The other thing that you want to consider that maybe has never crossed your mind before is that in this day and age, especially where everybody really is spending more time at home, trying to keep everybody safe, it's going to be more and more common for all of us to be seen on video in our office. And so that might be on a camera from your laptop or on your smartphone. Have a video-ready corner of your office, or a couple of tips that are not very hard to do to make you video ready. One is clear out whatever clutter's behind you. If you're on a video call, you either want to have a clear background, so a blank wall is fine, or you want to have something that I know in my office, and we'll show that clip in a minute. I'll actually show you a picture of my office, but it's actually decorated so that whatever you're looking at behind me, you know, it reflects my brand. We don't necessarily have to reflect your brand, but setting aside some time to set up a background that is going to work for you is going to be really paying you back when you do have to get on video. And trust me, from experience, it took me a while to get comfortable on camera. And if you have to add to the stress of being on camera, actually adding to that stress by getting ready to be on camera, well, shoot, you just don't need that at this point. Now, the other thing that I'm going to mention to you about your physical space is having a system to get organized and stay organized. I actually developed and published a book around Sort and Succeed. It's a 5-step system to organize everything. Just very briefly, and I think on screen you'll see the Sort and Succeed steps. There's 5 steps. Step number 1 is to start with a written plan. Step 2 is to organize your things into groups. Step 3 is to reduce, release, and then reset your space in a new sort of way or in a refreshed way. Step 4 is to tweak, make the little tweaks that will make your space feel comfortable and really feel like you. And then step 5 is to succeed and celebrate. And you can find all of that information here on the screen at my website, which is heartworkorg.com, or in any of the 3 organizing books that I've published. But having a system, the whole idea of having a system, whether it's mine or somebody else's that you've found works for you, is that if you're not reinventing the wheel all the time, you will be able to save that energy for other things. And right now, maybe you're saving your energy to care for your family, to get through your busy days in a sort of unfamiliar schedule that we might be working on. So that's your physical office. Let's talk for a minute about paper and digital files. I know a lot of people feel like they're chased around by a paper monster in their world. Well, we're not really, even though most of us have so many digital pieces to our world these days, we've never really gone paperless. And most of my clients, the people that I work with, are still dealing with a lot of paper in their life. One of the things that I recommend is to find whatever file storage you have in your home already. Maybe you have a file drawer, or you have a file tote, or a file bin like the one I have here, to make sure that that is working for you today. You know, if it's got papers in it from 1974, which I kid you not, last week I was cleaning out with a client and we threw away checks from 1974. And you know, you just don't need that kind of old paperwork around anymore. So if your files are holding old and unwanted paperwork, now is going to be a really good time to take some time, clear those out, and kind of start fresh. Now, once you've done that and you still have a little bit of paper here and there, things that you need to follow up on, I like to set up a tickler file, and I have one here to show you. This tickler file, the bin is actually from U Brands, and I bought it on Amazon, which as far as I know is still delivering. U Brands is a Smead company, and Smead makes wonderful office supplies and file folders. They just happen to be a great made in the USA customer, or a client. They're not a client, they're a company out in Minnesota. So this box you can find, like I said, on Amazon, and it's holding right now 12 hanging file folders. Each of the files has a name on it from January through December. And the idea behind this tickler file is, instead of holding all of your bits and bobs of paper in piles on your countertop, have them inside of the file folder where it denotes the time frame when you're going to need to see them again. So as an example, if there's a conference that I want to go to, let's say later in the fall, but I'm not ready to register just yet. Let's say I have a brochure that I've picked up, or an email that I've printed off about this thing that I want to go to in the fall. Well, let's say I'm going to take that piece of paper, and instead of putting it on the corner of my desk or on the kitchen counter, I'm actually going to pop it in the August file so that I would see it in time to register for and make arrangements to go to the conference that might be taking place in September or October. So the idea is you put things in and you put them into the file folder when you need to see them again. And then just like you turn the page on the old style of wall calendar, you know, January through December wall calendar, in this case you're actually going to move each file to the back so that the one in front is always this month's file. And you're going to take things out of this month's file one after the other so that you can stay on top of your commitments. What people tell me about this kind of tickler system is, not only does it eliminate paper from piles on your desk and your countertop, but it helps those commitments show up exactly when you need to see them again. And you'll be the rock star of your office, you'll be the rock star of your home if you are always seeing the things that you need to see exactly when you need to see them, and you're being able to take care of your commitments. That's the magic of a tickler file. You don't need to buy anything new, probably, by the way, to set up a tickler file. You probably already have a similar file box at home. A lot of people have the plastic ones with the lids. You can easily get one at an office supply store, have one delivered, I'm sure. And you probably have some hanging file folders. And if you don't have those, use the regular file folders that aren't hanging. You can make this work a number of different ways. The idea really is to make a system work for you. So those are some ways to deal with paper files. The other big tip is that if you do have a lot of papers that include photos and maybe memorabilia, I really suggest you pull the photos and memorabilia out of your papers. They're really, even though they're all printed on paper, they're different kinds of things. So put your photos and your memorabilia in one place, and then you'll be able to act on the papers that really require your attention and your activity. Let's see. Now, once you've gotten your papers under control, what about your digital files? Many of us have at least one computer, maybe more. We have our files from our work. We have files that get stored on the cloud, and maybe even some hard drives or some jump drives. There's really only those 4 places that files might be stored, usually on your computer, on extra hard drives, external jump drives, external hard drives, and network drives as well. So all of those places are where you're going to look for digital files. And while you're at home, working from home, maybe you take a little extra time to put all of those files together and organize them, maybe rename some file folders, maybe move things around from a cloud drive to your hard drive on your computer or vice versa. Know where your things are being saved when you are creating documents. Sometimes people don't realize that their files are actually going onto a cloud drive instead of on their computer, for example, or vice versa. So those are some quick tips on how to manage your digital files. If you do have any questions about how your computer is working, again, now's a really great time to ask, your neighbor, your spouse, your 15-year-old. The kids know so much about computers these days. It's really great to have them around. You can often learn a lot from your teenager, and I'm not being funny about that. I have a teenager in my house as well. But if you need help, professionals like myself and so many other professional organizers, computer technologists, all these people who can't be working out in the field right now, guess what? They're either in their office or they're working from home. So you might be able to get some help just by talking to these people, by picking up the phone, where you might otherwise not be able to have the time to do that. So take some time to set up your paper files and your digital files. You'll feel so much more organized. So those are 2 areas. I want to talk for a minute about the 3rd area, your apps and technology. Now, if you're over 40, I will remind you that once upon a time, we used to call apps software. Today, really, we don't talk about software. We call apps, whether they are on your phone or whether they are on your computer. So if you hear people talking about apps, just be aware they might be talking about literally software that you have on your computer as well as your mobile device. So let me share with you some of my favorite work from home and remote work apps that you might be using. And if you're not using them already, again, this is a really great time to check some of these things out, learn how to use them, and figure out if they're the right tools for you. If your company provides any training on these tools, that again is a great place to start. Many companies offer online training that you can log into and play whenever it's convenient for you. YouTube is also another great place to look for quick little tips and 2 to 20 minute training videos. Such a great resource. If there was ever a time in history where we had to kind of be stuck at home, this is it, because we've never before in history had so much great information and great learning opportunities available to us. Okay, so here are some apps and some technology that I really love. First of all, if you're working with other groups or other teams, you're going to want to share files back and forth. And if you don't already have a way to do that within an approved, secure company network, if you're a small business owner like I am, there's a couple of places where you're going to look to have that capability. So Dropbox is a great tool. It's dropbox.com. It is an app that you can load on all of your devices, your mobile phone, your iPad, your tablet, your PC, your Mac. It works across all of those devices. And it's essentially another hard drive, but it lives in the cloud. So anything that you pop on Dropbox can be visible from any of your computers. And it's a great sharing tool because once you put a file or a folder, either one, up on Dropbox, you can then, on most devices it's a right click, but you can right click to get a sharing link, and you can either email that link to a colleague so that they can look right at that material that you have shared with them, or you can actually share it directly from the platform. Again, just go in and right click and click share, and it really is that easy. The hardest part is probably downloading the software, the app, and that's not even hard at all. So Dropbox is a great cloud service. If you are an Apple user, you probably have started to use the iCloud and the iDrive. Well, it's the iCloud Drive. And that is a great tool. It's really good if you are an Apple user in an Apple community. But if you are sharing amongst people who don't use the iCloud and Apple devices, Dropbox is also a great tool. And of course, everybody has had some experience, I feel like, at this point with Google Drive. Personally, it's not my favorite, but I do use it. I do share files through there. There are some people who will only use Google Drive to share files. And so all three of those might be ones that you use. In fact, I use all three: Dropbox, iCloud, and Google Drive. Now, those are the big names, and there are plenty of others. In fact, you can go online and you can just put in Dropbox competitors or iCloud competitors and find many, many, many names, some of which maybe your company is using. So don't feel like you're limited to those three, but file sharing apps are a great way to keep information moving around even when people aren't. Now, another tool that I use a lot, and you'll probably be using a lot more these days as well, is video calling platforms. Probably everybody has heard of Skype, but there's several more. Again, there's lots of these types of applications or software around that we're using these days. My favorite is actually Zoom, zoom.us. And one of the reasons it's my favorite is because you can have a free account. Everybody should go and get their own free account right now. I certainly have one. With your free account, you can have your own standing link so that I can give my link to anybody I want to have a meeting with. And I can say, hey, just meet me in a half an hour, meet me in 3 hours, meet me at 3 o'clock. And I don't have to change that link. It's the same link, and I can email every time to different parties. But it's also really nice because you can have free calls up to 40 minutes with a number of people. You can meet with one other person, and you can meet with a group of people. You can also share your computer screen, which is really great if you're working again on a project, or you don't necessarily want to be seen on screen. You don't have to show your face on screen. You can turn the camera off, but you can share the documents back and forth with individuals. You can also use FaceTime, which is another Apple-only device service. So Apple users can FaceTime each other. It's a free call, and if you haven't used it recently, you might want to know that they've added FaceTime with groups. So you can, we used to always be able to call one-on-one. I could FaceTime my mom, I could FaceTime a colleague, but now you can FaceTime somebody, and then you can add on other people into that call. The only downside to that, it is a free service, it does work internationally. The only downside is that you have to be an Apple user. So if one of your people that you're trying to meet with is an Android user, they're not going to be able to get into that FaceTime call. You've heard of Skype, and you might also have heard of freeconferencecall.com, which now has video service as well. But the thing you might not know is all of these services that I'm mentioning, you don't have to show your face on camera. You can always turn the camera off, and it's a really great phone telephone type of way to meet with people, okay? All right, so what other productivity tools do we love? Well, I love the Kindle. That is a great way to get books right now. My library is shut down and it's breaking my heart. So is my bookstore, although my local bookstore will deliver books to you if you order them. They are going above and beyond. So Mainline Books, Radnor Library, all the local libraries, shout out to you who are still trying to serve the community. But the ebook platforms, my favorite is Kindle. There's iBooks, there are several of them as well. Smashwords is another one. And being able to get to your books online and read them whenever you want is a great way to go. The last thing I want to talk about is productivity. Okay, we've got, you know, we're as I'm taping this, we're going through what some people are calling the hashtag Corona apocalypse or hashtag Corona panic. But I prefer to think of the fact that in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And I want you to think about this. On the back end of working at home, in a time when maybe you don't want to be, does it open up an opportunity to be shining in a way that you couldn't shine in the office? And does it open up an opportunity for more flexibility after we all get back to normal? Whatever that looks like in a week or a couple of weeks, we want to be able to have the chance to say we did our best, we stayed productive, and so use this time to think about your productivity habits. You know, can you use the 80-20 rule? Can you focus on the important 20% right now and do the best work that you're able to do from home? Can we, can we organize our elephants? That's really what this show is about. We can use this extra time to learn, to organize, to get ahead. You know, we talk about the old saying is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, again, say a word of thanks for the fact that not all of us, unfortunately, but many of us do have the opportunity to work from home. In 2018, 42% of the American professional population worked from home. That means 60% of us are just really starting it now for the first time. So use this opportunity to learn, to organize your elephants. And if I can be of service to you, please find me at heartworkorg.com. I am a Radnor resident. If I can help you with any of these tools that I mentioned on the show, please reach out. I'd love to help you make this time the most productive and to help you get an upbeat, organized office that you love. Thanks again. Be well. And keep your hand sanitizer handy.